Prior to getting saved in June 2012, where I was then inspired to write my book Jericho, I had a keen interest in Egyptology, and still have up until now. And halfway into writing my book Jericho, I began writing another book on ancient Egypt. I saw something in the British Museum that was a real eye-opener, and I thought, oh, I've got to write this book now, I've got to focus on this. I felt like I'd received some knowledge from the ancients, and it was being depicted on their sarcophagi in the British Museum. At first I thought they were showing how they were lifting their stones. It certainly looked like that in some of their hieroglyphs, and it is all pictorial after all. I investigated it further and got involved in ancient technologies. Could the ancient Egyptians have possessed some advanced technologies that we're unaware of? And other researchers and book writers have gone down this same route. However, when I visited Egypt in 2015, I think it was May, I began to realise that they were obsessed with their gods. It was all mythological, not technological, and although I was hoping to find evidence of advanced technologies being used in ancient Egypt, you won't find it. Okay, I went to Dendera, the Dendera Temple, and saw what looks like a light bulb. You may have seen that image, but that isn't what it is. Although it may look that way, people get their hopes up. That isn't what it is. My Egyptologist tour guide Ahmed explained to me that they were celebrating their festival, and it was an ancient offering to their gods. Okay, this was repeated everywhere. Worship of the gods was shown all over the temples. Okay, there was no evidence of technology being used there. And although the ancient Egyptians probably were more advanced technologically, some of the things I was trying to find just don't exist. Okay, and a lot of these theorists, ancient alien theory that I was getting involved in, it is deceptive. Okay, when you actually visit the place, when you see it for yourself, it's clear, it's evident that it's all deceit, what they're teaching in these documentaries. Okay, they're sending you astray, and rarely are they historians. Anyway, before I went to ancient Egypt in 2015, I made a little recording, an audio recording, about the things that I was searching for as research for my book. I'm going to play that now so that you can see my thoughts prior to going, and also what I concluded once I'd come back. I wrote about 100 pages for this Egypt book, and that's all it was known as at the time, just the Egypt book. And it was going to be about electromagnetism. Did the ancients possess this knowledge of electromagnetism? That's what I was trying to prove. The Ankh amulet that the ancient Egyptians are holding in many of their hieroglyphs looks very similar to Sturgeon's first electromagnet, and this is what I thought they were doing here. I thought this was how they moved the stones. However, although there are so many similarities and coincidences, That's all they are, okay? They didn't possess this knowledge, as appealing as it may seem to some. No, they didn't possess this technology, and that's what I concluded after returning from Egypt and visiting all the temples along the Nile. The message was clear throughout. The gods, okay, this is all they were concerned with. It's all mythological, not technological, and I'm going to prove that to you now. Here's the recording. Looking through the symbols the ancient Egyptians used, the Ankh, the Djed, and the Was scepter. Now, I have looked in a book specifically on the Valley of the Kings, and some of the artifacts discovered at the mortuary tombs included amulets, and the Ankh is one of them, as well as a Djed and a Was. But we see the ancient Egyptians holding Ankhs on stone reliefs, and for a long time I thought because they were holding these, they were in fact tools, and they were using them accordingly. However, these objects have been found, and they were used as amulets, and not once have I seen an Ankh or a Was scepter or a Djed as a tool, a metallic object. Not once have I seen one. I've seen several that are either wood or faience or some other material, but never metallic. Which I must say I was a bit disappointed, and I now have my doubts that they were in fact Ankh electromagnets, because none of them are metallic, and everywhere it says that they were amulets. So what I'm prepared to do, for the sake of being accurate, is, okay, in my book I've discussed the Ark of the Covenant, built by an Egyptian prince, Moses, and the amazing powers it possessed, okay, and how it may have been some kind of advanced technology. However, although it did win battles for the Israelites, it brought a plague upon the Philistines when they captured it, and it struck people down dead who weren't permitted to access it or even see it. And there are other accounts that it could levitate in the Kebra Nagast. This is a book that the Ethiopians believe in and take very seriously. Despite all of those things, I'm willing to accept that all of those were acts of God, as was the parting of the seas in the Exodus. And I was just reading it earlier today, and there's no other way of explaining what happened in the Exodus. The sea, the walls of sea either side of the Israelites, and them walking through the sea on the ground, with walls of sea either side. You can't explain that technologically. That was an act of God. There's no other way of explaining it. Now, there was an angel in the Tanakh. I haven't checked with my King James, but in the Tanakh it says that there was an angel who was also involved when this happened. Okay, when God did this. So I'm not sure what the angel was doing specifically, but the parting of the seas was God, and it is very specific and adamant that there were walls of sea either side, okay, of the Israelites, and that God stopped the Egyptians' chariot wheels from turning, when they pursued Moses and the Israelites, so that the Egyptians would know that God was with the Israelites and not them. It's very specific. So, okay, it was an act of God. Let's accept that the Ark of the Covenant, everything that it could do, were acts of God also. And then I'm willing to accept that the Ankh, looking very similar to Sturgeon's first electromagnet in the 1800s, okay, that's just a coincidence as well. The Baghdad battery, I must admit, I'm dubious on that. There are other pots, other jars like this in other parts of the world that were used for storing copper scrolls. Okay, let's dismiss that one as well. Heron of Alexandria, his invention involving a giant lodestone in the temple of Zeus, the statue of Zeus, and levitation using this giant magnetic stone. Okay, he was from Alexandria, Egypt, and he studied Egyptology. Alright, that was just a coincidence. We're talking a much later time in history, a much later period in history as well. So, okay, let's say he was the first one to discover that, and it's a coincidence that he could levitate objects. Okay, I'll go along with all of that. But there is one story that I will not dismiss, and these facts cannot be disputed, and that is Edward Leeds Scoulin, who claims he knew how the ancient Egyptians built their monuments. He knew the secrets. He knew how they did it. He has a megalithic site of his own, built by him alone in Florida, called Coral Castle, and he wrote a book called Magnetic Currents, and he attempted to patent his magnetic generator, and this was how he built his megalithic site. And he claims he knew the secrets of the ancient Egyptians. Now, this is undisputable. I will not dismiss this one. I will not claim this is a coincidence. And this has kept the ball rolling for me in my book, because I don't see how you can explain that one. So all the others may have just been coincidences, but that isn't. That was real. I'm going to be doing some serious editing, and I even considered changing the title of my book, deleting the first chapter, which is about electromagnetism, and the second chapter's probably got to go, about ancient Egyptian technologies. It's very upsetting that I may have to do that, but thanks to Ed, I don't have to delete all of it. Yeah, I'm just looking at another one now, an Ankh. It is an amulet. It looks like it's made out of faience. No, it's not metallic. It's not metallic. You see where people get confused. They put a wood scepter with a jet on top of it and then an Ankh on top of that. You know. And it's like, oh, what's going on here? They've got some kind of tools. They pieced them together. They fitted them together. But no, maybe not. Maybe not. They just put it together in their art. Anyway, I'm going to Egypt in a week. I'm going to, thoroughly examine the tombs and the temples, all the sites. I'm going to be very skeptical. But if I see something that looks, I have a definitive answer, yes, this is it, then, well, it's definitely going in. It's definitely going in. But I don't know now. I really don't know. I'm a bit disappointed, and in myself as well. But I've drawn to this conclusion before I did enough research into it, and that's just not good enough.